The overall tax burden in Singapore is one of the lowest in the world. Taking together income taxes, the GST, and all other taxes, the total amount of taxes paid by the average Singaporean is significantly lower than that in other developed countries.
What's important in our tax system is that we keep taxes low and also keep it fair. Keeping it fair means that the bulk of our taxes have to be paid by higher income Singaporeans, and the bulk of the benefits have to be received by lower income Singaporeans and the middle income group. That's what we intend to preserve in Singapore. Low taxes overall and fair taxes. How does the GST figure in all of this? It's a 7% rate. First, it's lower than most countries, most developed countries, and we intend to keep it that way. But the GST is not something that exists by itself. The GST comes with benefits for the lower income group because we use the revenues from GST to help the lower income group and the middle income group as well.
The question is whether we should reduce GST now to help the poor.
We introduced workfare, we raised subsidies across a range of services, education, health and other areas, benefits that provide the poor with what we call GST plus. It's not just GST, but GST plus, workfare and all the other benefits. And GST plus is a fair system. It's a redistribution system from the rich and from foreigners who pay GST towards the poor and the middle income group in Singapore. So if you look at what we did when we raised GST from 5% to 7%, for the lower income group, take a typical family, for every extra dollar they paid in GST, first, they got back $3 in permanent benefits, workfare, increased subsidies in education and other areas. Plus, they got back an extra $2 in temporary benefits, one-off benefits. For 4 to 5 years, most low-income families got GST offsets. So when you add them up, the permanent benefits and the temporary benefits, that's $5 back for every extra dollar of GST they paid. That's a fair system. If we were to cut the GST now, bring it back to 5%, let's say, it also means reduced benefits, which is not good for the poor. In fact, the main people who benefit from that are the richer Singaporeans and foreigners, because they pay the bulk of the GST revenues they collect. Most of the GST we collect, in fact, about 75% of it, just comes from the top 25% of Singaporeans and foreigners. They don't get most of the benefits, but they pay most of the taxes. So if you cut the GST, it means they pay less, but it means the lower income group gets less as well.
So why not also reduce GST on just some items? The more essential items like rice, cooking oil, or sugar. Items such as that.
Sometimes it's appealing to think that we should cut GST or even have zero GST for certain essential items. Cooking oil, rice, some other essential foods. Sounds appealing, but even for the essential items, we find that the bulk of the GST we collect comes from the upper income group and foreigners. And it's far better for us to collect this GST and use it to help the lower income group because we can help them much more that way by collecting GST across a broad base of items and providing the benefits to the low and middle income groups. Health and education is different. It's provided by government hospitals and polyclinics and our schools and tertiary institutions. There, the government absorbs GST fully. But on all the other essential items, the bulk of the revenues that we collect through the GST system comes from the upper income group and foreigners. We collect it and we provide benefits to the poor and the middle income group. Far more benefits than the GST they pay, so that they are on a net basis better off because of the GST. That's a fair system of tax.